There are still regimes around the world that fear freedom. Look at Burma, North Korea, Turkmenistan, or Zimbabwe. Their repressive regimes remind us that the history of the world is replete with authoritarianism, oppression, and dictators determined to cling to power at any cost. When the Soviet Union began to crumble and freedom fighters tore down the Berlin Wall in November 1989, many marked it as the beginning of a new wave of freedom ringing around the globe, symbolizing victory over tyranny. But for a fearless embrace of freedom, one might do well to look at the events 21 months earlier in Nagorno Karabakh, Artsakh. There, a bold liberation movement reflecting the will of its Armenian electorate in February 1988 directly challenged the Soviet Union, which was trying to suppress this first truly democratic expression of popular will on its territory. After 70 years of political, economic, and cultural discrimination from Soviet Azerbaijan, the Armenian population of Karabakh faced total annihilation, first from the Soviet troops and then from newly independent Azerbaijan.
When Azerbaijan attacked us, we had no choice but to fight for our freedom and our land. Despite the overwhelming odds against us, enormous hardships and sacrifice, we succeeded in defending ourselves. Artsakh's best sons and daughters laid down their lives for our right to live in freedom. Indeed, the American expression, freedom isn't free, is very fitting to our case.
Եվ այստեղ ամերիկյան ազատություն անվճար չէ, արտահայտությունը խիստ համապատասխանում է մեր իրավիճակին։
In 1994, under pressure from Karabakh's defense army that had turned the tide by moving the fighting into Azerbaijan's territory, Azerbaijan was forced to accept a ceasefire. The armistice, which holds to this day, was signed by Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Nagorno Karabakh.
I am pleased that the United States stood with Karabakh during its effort to free itself from the Soviet Union and from Azerbaijan. It reminded me very much of the U.S. war for independence against Great Britain. And I believe very strongly in the principle that all people should be able to form their own government and decide where they want to live and have a democracy, as is the case with Karabakh.
The road to reach this moment in history for Nagorno-Karabakh has been long and challenging. Armenians have lived in the Artsakh-Karabakh region since the times of ancient Rome, more than 2,000 years ago. Since then, the Armenians here have seen governments, empires, and conquerors come and go. Still, in 1921, despite the fact that Karabakh was overwhelmingly Armenian, Joseph Stalin arbitrarily placed it under the administrative control of Soviet Azerbaijan. Against its expressed will, Nagorno-Karabakh became the world's only Christian autonomous territory inside a majority Muslim national entity. The Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, or NKR, established in 1991, is now a viable state that fully controls its territory, has a permanent population, and a democratically elected government. International observers have consistently evaluated Karabakh's conduct of general elections as transparent, free, and fair. The DC-based Freedom House ranks Karabakh's democratic credentials higher than those of neighboring Azerbaijan.
Here today, Karabakh is moving in the direction of a democracy. Azerbaijan, quite honestly, is not. And I'm proud of the fact that Karabakh has been very, very strong in that regard, and I hope they continue that way.
NKR conducts an independent foreign policy aimed at ensuring continued security and prosperity of the Republic. It maintains diplomatic representations in Paris, Berlin, Moscow, Yerevan, Beirut, Sydney, and Washington. Market reforms and tailored economic incentives resulted in a booming economy that for the past several years has maintained a double-digit growth rate.
I'm very happy here. I was very happy, of course, for 3 years, no tax.
Today, the 4,500 square mile country enjoys its hard-won freedom in growing prosperity and relative security. To continue to thrive, though, Karabakh must strengthen its defense capabilities in response to an oft-threatened invasion by Azerbaijan. Rhetoric from Azerbaijani leaders has grown increasingly bellicose and bold. The security and stability of the entire region is at risk. Notwithstanding this saber-rattling, Artsakh is fully committed to a peaceful resolution of the conflict with Azerbaijan, but it needs continued American economic and political support to preempt a potential war that also threatens the U.S. interest in a strategic South Caucasus region. The people of Artsakh are grateful to the United States government and the American people for the U.S. humanitarian assistance during these past years. Immediate needs such as housing, water sanitation, and health care are being addressed. NKR is an effective and responsible partner in its stewardship of international assistance. But to build on this success, the U.S. economic assistance must be expanded to include development areas such as roads, communication infrastructure, schools, irrigation, agribusiness, market assistance, and training for teachers and other professionals. Artsakh has also reached out to the private sector. Karabakh boasts a well-trained and inexpensive labor force with an especially strong base of engineers. The government is offering tax and export incentives, and the cost of living is relatively low. The private sector is responding. Telecom, mine, agribusiness, hospitality, and watch and jewelry companies from Australia, Lebanon, Russia, Switzerland, and the United States are investing in Nagorno Karabakh, creating jobs, and in the process, turning a profit.
There is a lot of opportunities if you are smart. This weather, this mountain here, beautiful atmosphere. I'm enjoying my life after this age. Please, I invite everybody to come here.
It's been 17 years since Nagorno Karabakh, Artsakh, declared its independence. It stands proudly today as a testament of the triumph of freedom over oppression. Artsakh is an important contributor to the balance of power in the South Caucasus. One can't help but think what America was doing 17 years after its declaration of independence in 1776. By 1793, for example, second-term President George Washington was declaring official neutrality during the continuing French Revolution, and construction of the U.S. Capitol building had just begun, with Washington himself wielding a trowel at the cornerstone-setting ceremony. Nagorno Karabakh looks to the leadership of George Washington for inspiration, and to the leaders in Washington today to help this new democracy succeed. A democracy which calls for formal recognition of its independence and for greater engagement of the international community to advance shared goals of freedom, democracy, peace, and economic progress.